joining us on the phone line to talk more about it. It is Kevin Minnick in his usual Saturday morning slot. Kevin Minnick writes for NJ Advanced Media, NJ.com. Kevin, how you doing on this Saturday?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. How was your Thanksgiving, by the way?
Thanksgiving was good. It was a good time with the family and chance to kind of rest a little bit after a game in the morning. But yeah, everything went well.
Yeah, that's the life for most of us around here. We got the Thanksgiving Day game in the morning, and then we get to see our family afterwards. So
yeah, it's a working holiday. So
yeah,
but we've been doing it for so long. It's just routine at this point. So we plan accordingly.
Kevin, before we get to the games themselves, I was just curious of what your perspective is moving forward. Are we going to eventually have a real New Jersey state champion one day? Do you think that's something that's in the short term or long term? Because I was talking with somebody I know. He's a friend of mine. He works in Florida, and he says he's from the Northeast. But if you go to Florida, they don't know anything about Thanksgiving Day football, but they know about state championships. It feels like a lot of the country, they have a true state champion in many ways, whereas it seems like New Jersey is just the one state that's kind of behind everybody else.
Yeah, I don't know why it ever came to this, but for whatever reasons it did, and it's going to change. And obviously the beginning of the bowl game last year and the regional championship this year is the logical next step is the state championship, and that's going to get worked out. I think we're looking at that in the next year or two. I would think. I don't think another 2-year cycle is going to go through without that happening. So, this is what let's put it this way. I don't know that this is what everybody wants, because there are still too many people out there that, when asked, would you rather play a Thanksgiving game or play for a state championship the following weekend? A lot of these people are still hanging on to the Thanksgiving Day and the rivalry and the tradition. But yeah, these last 2 years have set the stage for a true state champion. And, I don't know what more could possibly be done to not see that happen. So, teams practice all the time, whether it's in season or during the season. And, they're practicing in the summer. They're gearing up for the season. Make no mistake about it. They'd be lying if they told you they weren't. So, I think starting the season early, even if it is a week before school starts in a lot of cases, is a natural progression, and an ultimate state champion, I think, is really what people should be gearing for. I don't personally, if I understand football has different meanings to different people, and, it's got tradition and it teaches life lessons and so forth. But, bottom line is, if you're not playing the game to want to ultimately be the best at what you do, which would be a state champion, then I really don't know why you're playing the game. So a state championship has got to be on the horizon, and I think it's going to happen soon.
Of course, this weekend here on 97.3 ESPN, we will have 3 of the championship games this afternoon. We'll have Hamilton versus Shawnee, and the doubleheader tomorrow. We have Hillside versus Cedar Creek, and then St. Joe versus Holy Spirit. Kevin, I want to first touch on with you the Shawnee versus Hamilton matchup this afternoon. And one thing that stands out to me is that fact that the first time these two teams played, there was no Jaden Abrams. This time there is Jaden Abrams. So, what kind of, flip can that make in the favor of Hamilton in this game?
Well, to be honest with you, 31-8 the first time around is a pretty large margin of victory for Shawnee, and I think having Jaden Abrams back in the lineup is obviously a major deal for Hamilton. And is Jaden Abrams a 4-touchdown difference? I don't know, but obviously having him in there and doing what he's done this season, since that game has been very, very good for Hamilton. So I think he's obviously the difference maker for that football team. Take him off the field and we saw what happened. So I expect it to be a much closer game this time. I still think that Shawnee, is the better of the two teams right now. Shawnee really has played extremely well this season, even in their losses, except for the Woodrow Wilson loss. they were highly competitive. And, I just think it's going to be a much more entertaining game than it probably was the first time, overall. And, we'll see what Jaden Abrams is all about. This is a big stage for him. And, if that offensive line can give him a couple of holes and he can churn out some yards and they can stay, within a touchdown, for at least the first three quarters, I think it's going to be anybody's game in the fourth. But it's a good opportunity for, not only for Jaden, but for Shawnee, to play at Rutgers, to have these some of these kids get an opportunity to be on a college field and in a college stadium. And I think there very well may be a couple coaches that are going to be interested in some kids by the time the whole weekend is over.
Shawnee's had an incredible defensive performances this year. What has really been the key for them on defense this year?
They've got a kid by the name of Matt Papa, who's a senior linebacker, and him and his brother Tom, have really been two of the better defensive players for them. They combined for over 200 tackles, and I did a piece on them earlier in the week up on the website. And these are two kids that came in together. Obviously, they're twins, so they started their careers together, have played on the same teams throughout their careers, and are going to walk off that field today together. So they're two really strong defensive players for them. And Dalton Short's another one to throw into that mix, too, that, kind of comes off the top of my head. And, here's a kid who's a program player, a dedicated leader for them. And really, Shawnee, they've done a nice job of stuffing the ball at the line of scrimmage. So, I think that's where the difference is going to be today. Can Shawnee, limit the big play, from Jaden Abrams, that 6, 8, 10-yard run, and keep him under wraps as best as possible, because I think that's going to be the key to their defensive attack.
The two games tomorrow we'll have on 97.3 ESPN. It starts with Hillside and Cedar Creek. For those of our listeners who they know Cedar Creek, but they don't know Hillside, what can you tell the listeners about Hillside?
I haven't seen Hillside play. The last time Hillside played a football game that was against Haddonfield last time they lost a football game was against Haddonfield in the Group 2 bowl game last year at MetLife. And, here's a team that's undefeated and really has been riding its defense all season. And I'm sure, Mike McGarry talked about it a little bit earlier, but, Cedar Creek's coming into this game averaging better than 40 points a game and really has been, extremely prolific, scoring touchdowns and putting points on the board. But Hillside's a team that has given up 40 points all season. So, I think it's going to be a major challenge, for Cedar Creek to put points on the board against this team. I'm not saying that they can't do it, but, obviously it's going to be their biggest test of the season as far as going up against a defense that has been as strong as Hillside's is. So, Hillside will come to play. They are a 3-time defending sectional champion, so these kids know how to win, and I expect to see I expect it to be a close game. I think this one's going to be maybe a touchdown game, possibly maybe even a field goal, and things can happen. And Cedar Creek is riding some momentum, so if they put their get their act together and have everything going. Taylor Manning is a really strong kicker for them, capable of, splitting those uprights for a field goal anywhere probably 40 to 45 yards. He could probably nail one. So, as long as they stay close with Hillside and don't allow them to really get going offensively, I think Cedar Creek will be in the game.
I was mentioning this. You mentioned McGarry earlier in the show, and that is, Tim Watson, 9 seasons at Cedar Creek, and people forget about the fact that he went there and basically has built a football program from nothing. That wasn't even a school out there in Egg Harbor City 20 years ago, and he has taken something that had no real history or tradition or anything and turned it into a viable, consistent, contending football team. And I don't think he gets enough credit sometimes.
Yeah, I think they are a team. If you can be as successful as they have and still kind of be flying under the radar, that's them. And that's a program that I'm pretty certain it hasn't even been around for 10 years. So I remember they played their first year an independent schedule. Took some lumps here or there, but since that season they've had some athletes in that school. They've been able to put things together and and really enjoy a tremendous amount of success in a very, very short period of time. So, yeah, when you have a guy who comes in and basically, he came in and he was handed the keys, and you know what, Tim, this is your opportunity now to build this program. Coaches they want to build a program. They want to create, a program in their, in their eyes and how they want to do it. And a lot of guys are given that opportunity, and some fail, and a lot of guys, have an opportunity and take advantage of it. And Tim's obviously one of them. And, he's done a great job down there. They get some tremendous support from the school, from the students and the faculty and administration and things along those lines. And, they've just come together so quickly, and if you have kids that are buying in and listen to what's being taught, good things can happen. And obviously that's happening down there. I'd love to have them play some Friday night games and have some lights down there. But they didn't put lights in when they built the school. Maybe there was a method to that madness. I don't know. But, it's a great, if you go down to a Cedar Creek game on a Saturday afternoon, it really is a nice atmosphere. And it's, like I said, there's tremendous support and what they've done really in, like I said, less than 10 years, some programs have never come close to sniffing. So he's done a really good job down there, and obviously is a coach that I think is highly admired by his peers.
Kevin Minnick joining us on Boardwalk on the Hotline on 97.3 ESPN. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at Minnick Sports for all of his high school South Jersey sports coverage. Kevin, the other game we're airing tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN, it's part two. This happens, seems like every year. It's Holy Spirit, St. Joe. They always seem to be playing for something major on the line, and this is no exception. And you got a showcase of running backs, the phenom Jada Byers for St. Joe, then Holy Spirit with the double-headed threat of Elijah Gray and Patrick Smith.
Yeah, and like I said, there's a new coach that's taken over that building up at Rutgers, and there's been a lot of talk about him this week. And there's going to be some football players in that game that I think could help that program. And when you look at this matchup, obviously I think the biggest thing that really just jumps out at you will be Jada Byers for St. Joe, and then the two-headed monster of running backs of Elijah Gray and Patrick Smith for Holy Spirit. Obviously Jada has had a tremendous career. This year kind of really expanded his game. Coach Sacco is really giving him an opportunity to show all of his talents, not only running the football, but catching it and the kick returns as he's had in the past, and also playing, some pretty good defensive backs. So, obviously all eyes look at Jada when he's on the field. And, when you look at Holy Spirit, you got Elijah Gray, who's a 4-year player there, who's really done a nice job running the football and taking an awful lot of punishment through those 4 years of his career. And, and then add Patrick Smith, a guy who, the quicker of the two backs, the one that's going to really explode once he finds that hole. They're the kids that are going to, I guess, maybe you could say steal the spotlight when that game comes up. But, I think, the first time around, St. Joe won that game. It was a close one. I would expect this one to be a close one as well. I just don't see these two teams. I don't see it being a blowout. I can't see somebody winning by 3 or 4 touchdowns. I just think that they're too familiar with each other and they know each other's tendencies so well that, it will be a close game. But, I think the team that catches a couple breaks maybe and maybe breaks a couple of momentum turning plays will be the one to walk out. But it's going to be an interesting football game. I think, for those 3 running backs in particular, the game being played on turf is a huge advantage for them because they are very quick and explosive running backs. So it's going to be an entertaining game, and I hope people, get their popcorn at a concession stand before 4 o'clock because once kickoff rolls around, I don't think they're going to want to leave their seats.
St. Joe has won 9 of the last 11 versus Holy Spirit. So what should be the key for Holy Spirit to they can't stop Jada Byers, but keep him from scoring 10 touchdowns like he did in the last round?
He's not going to score 10 touchdowns again. That's just not going to happen. That's not going to happen. If he scores 10 touchdowns, then, Holy Spirit should just, walk home from the game and not worry about a bus because that would just be a remarkable thing. But obviously I think, slowing Jada down is the biggest thing. He's one of them kind of kids where, you're not going to completely shut him down. Because he is that good. But if you can slow him down a little bit and keep him under wraps as best as possible and still be within and be within striking distance when the fourth quarter rolls around, I think you're going to be in business. And, Holy Spirit, has done that before. The first game, I believe, was a 4-point game. So, it's not that they can't do it. So, I'm sure they've had plenty of time to prepare for this. Obviously, both teams have, and the game plans will be accordingly. So, like I said, you can only hope to contain him, and for Holy Spirit, I guess they want to try to contain him for 48 minutes. Although I think that's going to be very difficult to do.
He is Kevin Minnick. Follow him on Twitter at KMinnickSports on Twitter for all your high school sports coverage, not just football. Kevin covers it year-round for NJ Advanced Media. He joins the Pete Thompson Show every Saturday in the 9 o'clock hour. We appreciate his time each and every week. Kevin, it's good to talk to you under better circumstances, and hope you get to enjoy all the games this weekend.
Yeah, we've got 7 games left in the high school football season. We'll kick it off, like I said, today at 1 o'clock with Cherokee and Williamstown, and we'll wrap it up on Sunday night in what is going to be a very, very entertaining Group 1 game between Penns Grove and Willingboro. And then we take a breath. We wrap up the season with some all-star material, and then we go right into basketball. So, it's this is the time of year that you look forward to. This is what everybody plays for, and just a short little plug. People that can't make it up to the games, they can watch them live on NJ.com. Just go to the website. There's plenty of links there, and they can follow the games live all day. Today and tomorrow. So it's a great way to end the season. And like I said earlier, I think it's going to be the beginning of state championships in a real soon in the immediate future for public schools, and just taking high school football in New Jersey to another level.